We're constantly pressured to do more, to feel less, to take care of it all, and to not fail. We have glorified perfectionism, and we have all fallen victims of having unrealistic expectations for ourselves and others, living life in a constant train of disappointment and seeking control. I am passionate about helping women decrease their mental drama, increase their self-awareness by implementing boundaries, mindfulness, and powerful mindset tools so that they can step into the most confident version of themselves as mothers, as wives, as professionals. I deeply believe that women fear success more than they do failure. And I am on a mission to help turn this around, one episode at a time. I am your host, Olga Lacroix, former therapist, life coach, mother, wife, and this is the Journey to Happy podcast. Hello there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Journey to Happy podcast. Whoa. I've got something that I want to share with you. And before I dive into that, I want to tell you that I just spent a weekend away from my husband. And I stayed with my son. My husband went to Chicago with his younger sister. They both share a passionate love for American football, which is a game I will never know, I will never understand, and I'll probably never feel passionate about. And I am huge into watching sports. I don't play sports. I watch sports. I love the passion behind soccer and hockey. And I love watching tennis. And I understand, I love UFC. Yes, guys, UFC is one of my favorite things to watch. But football is just not for me. I fall asleep at every game. We have a team in Ottawa, and I've been to live games thinking, okay, maybe this is when I'm going to get it and feel passionate. No, it just does not vibe with me. Okay. Football and we're not in the same energy level. We don't like each other. Maybe football likes me. I don't know. I don't like it. And so that's one of the things that my husband and I do not share. He loves it. He could watch that every Sunday. And that's me time. That's one of the things I love about my marriage is that we do not feel the need to be in love with the same interest or to have the same interest. We actually really love having different interests because those are opportunities to do things apart, and we come back fully recharged. So this past weekend, my husband left to go to Chicago with his sister, and they planned a whole, 4-day trip. They went on bike rides and they visited certain places and restaurants that they wanted to do. And they went to a hockey game, and then they went to that football game, and then they came back. Meanwhile, I stayed at home with my 3 dogs. I don't know if I ever told you I have 3 dogs, but I do. I have a pit bull, blue nose pit bull. She is a beautiful female. She's 3 years old. And she's the one that you might hear from time to time here in the podcast. She always enters my office. No matter how much I try to stop that door from opening, she finds a way. Highly anxious dog. Between you and I, my least favorite of the 3 because she's so needy, but she's cute. So I still love her. And we've had her since she was a really small puppy. So definitely she's got parts of our heart, and also parts that are not hers because she's so annoying. Then I have a Rottweiler. I always say he's my firstborn. He's the only male we have in the house, and I adore him. He's 7, and he's the most intelligent dog ever. Love him. And then we also have a little Shar-Pei, and she's the oldest. She's about 14 years old maybe. And so she's super calm and chill and quiet. She just wants to sleep. She's also super cute. All in all, that's my family, okay? So it used to freak me out to stay home with the 3 dogs and my son because I didn't know I could handle it. Turns out that I can handle it, and I love it. And so this past weekend was one of those weekends where I got to enjoy my son. And so we did different activities. I planned it to be fun, light, and easy, my three favorite words. So there was definitely some takeout meals. There were also I just went to the grocery and bought food that was easy to make, like those whole chickens that they sell here at the grocery store. Those were a lifesaver because Matteo likes them. I like them. And it's easy to just fix a salad and have that. We went to a farm with Matteo, and so he loved it. And I loved it. Who am I kidding here? If my son loves animals, it's only because I love them too. And I've passed that love on to him. So we're at a farm. We also got my niece and nephew to stay here for a sleepover. We baked, we watched movies. We just had fun. I had fun. I am a child deep inside, okay? So any weekend where I get to just be with children and do childlike things, I am a happy camper. And so I just came back from a weekend like that. And the last night I texted my husband, I said, okay, just so that you know, this is the limit of my preferred time away from you. Now I miss you. You know what is so exciting? To miss your husband. We've been married 7 years now. And it's always kind of fun to just create pockets of spaces where you have the opportunity to miss each other. So I'm on a high vibe right now because he just came back home and I just feel like, oh, I'm so blessed to have this guy as my husband. I love him so much and I love my life so much. All because we spent a weekend away, each of us doing what we love doing. So I just to bring you into that's what's been going on in my life. And I think it's important for the conversation of today because I'm going to be sharing with you 4 words that have literally shifted and changed my life. Not the people, not the things, not the circumstances, but it has changed the way I view and I show up and I present myself to myself and to the world and the way in which I view the world, my perception. These 4 words have changed me. And I want to share them with you. We work in my Reset Your Mindset formula in my 12-week coaching program. We focus a lot on these 4 words as I'm teaching people how to reset their mind, how to bring their mind back to zero, and how to change mental habits that are no longer serving you. The reason I started sharing with you this past weekend without my husband and how peaceful and how incredibly exciting it was to go pick him up at the airport and to see him. And within the first 10 minutes, he said something that annoyed me. And I'm like, oh God, yes, that's my husband. That's the one I know. Because in the past, before I really knew and understood these words, and before I lived by the meaning of these words, I would have really struggled with a weekend away where my husband would have planned this trip. And I would have struggled going through that whole process of him, planning this weekend and being and fun and away from home without feeling some sort of resentment or a sense of unfairness. Oh, I don't get to do that. How come? Or quite honestly, without feeling like fear, anger, something out of like feeling that I couldn't handle it, that would just be too much. And it is such a nice way for me to reflect back into how Olga, maybe 10 years ago, maybe even 7 years ago, when we first got married, I would have had a hard time with that, and how different it is today, how exciting it is now, how, I look forward to those moments. I know in the next month or so, there is going to be another trip like this where he's going to go with his friends to do something I like doing, which is skiing. He's going on a trip and I don't think he should not. I love that he is wanting, like he wouldn't come to a yoga for a week with me, nor would I want him there. So I think like this is just fun. And these shifts I've been able to have them and then to coach others to have them through obviously my mindset tools. But these 4 words are the catalyst of so much of that change. If you can truly, truly give them the time to understand them and to find a way to give them space in your life and to use them to help you shape your mindset. So the first word that I want to share with you is, are you ready? Consistency. You have heard me say that word before, okay? It is a word that I use often because I am a mindset coach. And what do we know about mindset? What do we know about goals? What do we know about anyone or anything that can say, I've had success at something? The one common denominator that they've had is consistency. And so when you're thinking about creating shifts in your life, whether that is to drink more water or to become a public speaker or to be trusting of humans or to be self-confident, whatever the objective, know that you will get there if you can consistently make the baby steps. If you can consistently, 2 ounces of water at a time. If you can create consistency in your habits, in your behaviors, in your way of thinking. So that to me is one of the words that until I understood that word fully, I didn't really begin to apply it. I was talking to a client the other day and I called her out on it. I said to her, it's not that things are not working for you, is that you have not once yet been consistent at any of what we talked about. I give you a tool, you're like, that's great. You use it once and then never again. And then you tell me it didn't work. Or you use that one and then shiny object syndrome comes up, something else comes up, you read another tool, you go and apply that one. Before I know it, you haven't used it. And she was like, oh my God, this is so true. And at our follow-up session, she said, okay, it's true. I am not consistent. How do I bring consistency? Then I'm like, okay, now we're talking. Once you know you're not consistent, the same happened to me. I was at a business conference, one of my first business coach, and one of the speakers talked about consistency being the word that made her finally come out of her shell and just create this brilliant business. And the more she talked about how consistent she was with showing up, with the doing the work, with the sending the newsletters, with getting up after a hard rejection from a potential client or potential business, I realized that what I was lacking, not just in my business, but in life in general, was consistency. So I became incredibly curious to know how let's look at my life as a whole, professionally, mentally, emotionally, physically. What would consistency do to each of these areas of my life? And because I know, and if you don't know this, I'm telling you, I know that no human mind can possibly do all the things at once. If I chose one thing, if I chose my marriage to be the thing that I was going to be consistent at, what one thing will make the most difference? What will be the thing that will carry me forward if I did it consistently? So maybe communication. Okay, so how can I consistently communicate my needs or communicate whatever is bothering me versus waiting for my husband to figure it out? So I began to do this with every single area, not all at once. Okay, that's very important for you to remember. I didn't just create all this shift, but at that conference, I became aware that the lack of consistency was my truth for everything in my life. That if I ever started running or going to yoga, I did it for some time, but then I would just quit or just not commit. Oh, did I just say the other word? Huh. Okay, so I wasn't consistent. Okay, and there isn't so much of what you can do. I don't necessarily want you to create a to-do list of how to become consistent, but I really want you to start exploring what consistency would look like in the different areas of your life and what you would stand to gain if you set it up as a goal. What I said to my client the other day is it's not that you suck at being consistent, is that you have never made it your goal to be consistent. And that on its own, it's a goal, okay? You might say, okay, I'm going to consistently, wash my hair Mondays and Fridays and blow dry it and look beautiful. That might be your goal, to look beautiful, to do your hair more often. But if you don't work that part of the goal, is that consistency, like that you're working actively at consistency, that's a goal in its own, then you haven't worked at being consistent. And it's okay if you haven't. I hadn't set it up as a goal. That's what I've realized for me. I had all the intentions, all the goals, but I had never made consistency on its own become a goal for me. And once it did, and I became curious and I began to ask myself, what will be different in my marriage? What will be different at work? What will be different with my health? with my fitness? Like, what will be different with my eating habits? Guys, that consistency came through all areas. This is the beautiful part of these words that I'm sharing with you. When you decide to apply it somewhere religiously and like really, really understand it and really, really applying it, like magic, it just filters through. And then you begin to be consistent in all areas. So like, that's when I consistently started to really avoid gluten, because I realized, well, this isn't healthy for me. So, like you just can see how this will change you. Just that one word really changed me. And notice how the word is not a word that I say, this is the word that you need to use. It's a word that brings a meaning. And so when you become curious about that meaning and then you make it mean something for you, and what would that meaning look like for me? That's when magic happens, okay? So consistency is the first one. The second one, I just gave it to you, and that's commitment. It's different from consistency, but a close sister. Commitment is when you tell yourself, I am going to be a ride or die kind of partner to my goal, to myself, to the thing that I'm really working towards. So I want you to think about commitment as the promise. So consistency is the action, right? And then commitment, it's like the energy behind it. It's your why. It's like you're giving your word. You're saying to yourself, yes, I promise you, I will show up at the party. When you tell that to a friend, you're far more likely to show up than when you say, I'll see if it works. I'll consult with my husband and let you know. We all know what that means. No, you don't want to come, right? So it's giving that commitment. It's saying, yes, I've consulted with myself and I really want to do this. It's really important to me. When it comes to commitment, I really like going back to my why, my purpose. Why is this important to me? So if the goal is to make 100K, like I just recently helped a client do that with her business. We did a lot of work. I'm not a business coach, remember. I'm a mindset coach, but mindset is really needed by people in business. However, so I didn't give her like necessarily like a business plan of this is how much you're going to charge and this is how you're going to make the money. But we work diligently on her commitment to making that 100K. And so part of the work that we would do is like, tell me, why is this important to you? Why is this $100,000 important? Why does it matter? And then I help her kind of commit even more by allowing herself to think, if I already had the 100,000, what would I be doing with that money? What would it allow me to? And so she was so invested in the result that her commitment came through. You guys can do this with any goal that you have in mind. So let's say that you're working towards being healthier. Imagine that you were already in that ideal health level that you wanted to be, that your mental health is top notch, or that your physical health, whatever it is that you're struggling with, is great. Like if you have insulin resistant issues, then imagine that you didn't, that your insulin was just flowing and all was good, right? Like, why does that diet to get the insulin under control is important to you? What would it matter to you to have that insulin under control? That's commitment. If we talk about in relationship terms, commitment will equal your vow, right? Like when you tell your partner, I vow to whatever. And consistency is showing up every morning to your marriage, right? And being like, okay, here I am. But commitment, think of it as the soul, the energy, what moves you, what made you even say yes to begin with to the goal. The other word is compassion. Compassion is change me. And this is the funny thing. I am a hypersensitive human. I feel all emotions. My superpower is to feel emotions, to be emotional. So compassion it wasn't foreign to me. I have always been so compassionate, but I never really had compassion for myself. I had it for everyone and everything, all animals, all plants, all living things. All things, I had compassion. Like I didn't let my husband kill a spider in our house. We respect that life and we take it out. A mouse though, I'll be okay with him killing a mouse. No, I'm joking. I would still want that mouse to just be free and just never come back to my house. Okay, compassion. I always had so much compassion for everyone else, so much understanding that to me is the real meaning of having compassion is just being understanding. And it would be really easy for me to be understanding of other people having a bad day or having had a poor response to something I did or say. Yeah, to just being human and having this human condition of imperfection. And I would see it and I'll understand it and I will have the most compassion. Even people who went out of their way to say mean things to me or who went out of their way to hurt me or hurt somebody I love, I still looked at that person as a human who's in pain, causing pain, just experiencing the pain that they have inside of them outside and just creating more of the thing. But I never really knew what being compassionate with myself would look like or why was it needed. Like, I don't really think before I became a mindfulness instructor that I ever stopped to consider the importance of being compassionate towards myself. And so here's what I want you to remember about being compassionate. All it really means is that you're not going to judge yourself on a regular basis and find yourself always guilty. If you were the judge, you went to the court or somebody came to the court, that judge will always find you guilty, shameful, responsible, inadequate, full of flaws. That to me is lack of self-compassion. And truth be told, most people who don't have that self-compassion are terrified, and I mean terrified, of being judged by others because they think, unconsciously at the very least, they think that others will judge them as harsh as they judge themselves. Now, I probably never actually did have a worry about what others will think of me, but my lack of compassion will show up by having a really mean inner voice that would just judge me constantly and make me feel anxious and really uneasy about my thoughts and about my ideas and about me in general, or my future, or my possibilities. And so the studies of mindfulness really helped me understand that I was as human as everybody else, and therefore as imperfect. And therefore, my judgment of myself really needed to be like I judge others based on their human experience, not based on like being superpower, like a superhero. What am I saying? I remember, I would say that I think that's the first time I saw a therapist. She said to me, okay, so you think you are superwoman or God, and so nothing touches you, and so nothing really applies to you. Like you're not human. All is perfect. And when she said it that way, I didn't like it at all. She was saying, I'm like, that's not how I view myself. I know I'm full of imperfections and I'm not above anything or anyone. But what she was trying to say to me is that I have taken away from my own perception that I was human. And if I could have so much compassion for all other humans and understand that they would act and respond in human ways, that I wouldn't have that same perception of myself. And so therefore I would judge myself really, really harshly because I was having a human experience, because I was frustrated or because I was nervous or anxious. And that's just all part of being human. So compassion has really allowed me to lessen the way in which I judge myself, to judge myself in a much more favorable way, and to give myself really moments of grace for being human and imperfect. And in fact, it's changed me so much that I now expect me to make mistakes. And I'm excited for those mistakes because I get to learn and I get to be more humble and I get to have really, really valid lessons that I wouldn't have had before because I wouldn't want to see it, because I didn't have the ability to hold space for me in my human condition of imperfection. So compassion equal not judging myself in a negative way every time I didn't perform excellently. That has changed the relationship with myself and therefore with everyone else. And the last word that I want to give you is courage. I can't ever say courage without thinking of myself with all the compassion that I just mentioned and not get super emotional. Courage, my friends, is a word that I honestly feel like thanking the word. So I'm going to do that right now. Thank you. Thank you, feeling of courage for existing and for coming to my awareness like I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have a podcast right now. I would be talking to you guys vulnerably about how I have chosen these words to get out of my own mental chaos if it hadn't been for courage. I realized in my early 20s when anxiety was very high for me. I just had anxiety, a lot of anxiety, a lot of my awakened hours. I realized that anxiety was probably never going to leave me, that it was byproduct of having been through different traumatic events in my life, and that my brain was probably never going to be, the same or like the brain of somebody who have had a really pleasant, trauma-free life, and that I could make that mean something really heavy, or that I could make that mean something neutral, that is just the way it is. And so I came to the conclusion that for me, fear, irrational thoughts were always going to be a part of my existence, and that I needed to learn to live with that. And so when I realized that, I decided to say to myself, well, you're going to have to get used to doing things with fear, because there's no way out. The other option is that fear will stop you from doing all the things that you can do, because fear will tell you not to. And so I decided to shift those butterflies of fear in my belly for courage. And that's essentially what I teach all of my coaching clients inside Reset Your Mindset program to do. How can we shift our mind, the way we feel, the way we think of obstacles, of mistakes, of things that we deemed unsafe and vulnerable and risky? How can we feel that emotion that wants us to not go there for courage? How can we, I realize fear and courage are like experienced the same way in the body. So if we just change the word, like this isn't fear, I'm going to turn this fear into courage. This is just what I feel when I'm being courageous. And then I do it. I, for years, had an image. I don't know if you guys have seen this. There is this huge sculpture in New York made out of, I don't know, iron or something, of a massive, oh my God, bull. And there is a tiny little girl in front of this bull, with her hand, pushing her hand against the bull, kind of like taking the bull by the horns is the thing. A very courageous girl, little girl, who stands in front of this massive bull and says, I see you. I'm not afraid of you. It could have been terrifying for that little girl to be in front of that massive bull, but she did it anyways. Well, that image helped me so much in this transformation of fear for courage. Am I still afraid of things? Fuck yeah. When I was giving you the example earlier about mice, that's a real fear for me, okay? It's almost a phobia. I don't like them. It makes me feel really unsafe. And I live in the country. I see them a lot more now than I ever did in my life. And I've grown some tolerance and whatnot. But anyways, all of that just to say that it takes courage to live out in the country, to live in this house, to go into my garage and exercise when I have seen them there, but I still do it. I still do it because I told myself a long time ago that I was going to turn into courage, that I was going to bring my mind and my heart to being courageous, because that was much better than being paralyzed by fear. I don't believe any woman in this world needs to be paralyzed by fear. I think that every single one of us could take steps to become more courageous. And that if collectively every single woman was courageous to take one step, even if it was tiny, towards doing the thing that they really wanted to do with fear and all, that this planet would be such a better place. And that we would have a lot more leaders of thought, of politics, of religion, of all things, because then women were being courageous to the thing that maybe they've been discouraged to do. And so I wanted to bring to you these 4 words that have really changed me. And I share with you what meaning I have for each of them and how they've helped me sort of build up a stronger mindset. And each of them, inside the program, I break them into even more little tangible steps. The formula exactly of how to apply this and how does that make sense and why is this important when you want to reset your mindset. But I really wanted to come and share with you what these 4 words are and how they've changed me. They have not only changed me, they have helped me change and transform the lives of so many women. So I know for a fact these 4 words are powerful. What do they have in common? They all begin with a C. So often you will hear my clients, if they come talk in the podcast, or maybe you've heard them already in previous episodes, they talk about the 4 C's. These are the 4 C's, my friends, and they will change your life. I promise you, there's no way you consistently and intentionally apply these 4 concepts into your life and that you don't feel a transformation of sorts. So, compassion, consistency, commitment, courage. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you found it inspiring. But most importantly, I really hope that by listening to this episode, you decide to take action. So take action. Maybe grab one of these C's and make it your word for the year, that you're going to actively all year work on consistency or on compassion to self or on commitment or on courage, and see where that takes you towards the end of the year. If this sounds interesting, if you would absolutely love to do some of this work with me, come join Reset the Mindset program. It's 12 weeks where I teach you these 4 concepts and a lot more to help you restructure the way you think, to create more awareness, and ultimately to change the relationship with yourself from being your worst enemy to really building up that self-confidence from the inside out without the need of reassurance and the outside world telling you, hey, you're doing a great job, but that you yourself can tell and give yourself that reassurance. The program is 12 weeks. It's a combination of videos. So you get 1 video a week and then 1 call with me a week as a group. It is really powerful. It goes by really fast. Those 12 weeks go by really fast every single time. I'm surprised that we're already at week 12. And it is transformational. It is also a good way to test for yourself if life coaching is something that you are interested in. And the commitment is 12 weeks. So you'd really done. Compared to my other programs, this is like a really nice intro to just get your feet wet into the coaching world and seeing what happens to your life once you're being coached. All the information is in my show notes. And so I hope that you click there, read more about the program, and even better yet, that you apply and that you get in. That'll be great. I keep it really small, as with most of my programs at the moment anyway. And so I want to make sure that you're a good candidate. And so there's a bit of an application process where I get to talk to you before you join us. But the doors are open now, and I would absolutely love to see you in there. Okay. See you guys next Monday. Talk to you soon. Bye for now. Interested in giving life coaching a try? Here's your opportunity to do so in a short period of time. My Reset Your Mindset program is starting in January of 2022. This is an intimate group coaching program that combines live coaching calls and video training. You receive weekly lessons through video, and you receive weekly support through Zoom calls with me. This time around, I'm also gifting participants with lifetime access to Detox the Mind online course, a course that emphasizes on helping you create new neurological connections so that you have a happier mind and healthier habits. You can grab your spot by going into the show notes and signing up. We meet for 12 consecutive weeks on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, this program focuses on 3 main points: creating awareness, setting up boundaries, increasing your confidence. The Reset Your Mindset formula helps you with making decisions with ease, set clear boundaries without drama or guilt, stopping the hamster wheel that keeps you in overthinking mode, switching the mean inner voice for one of confidence and compassion. You will let go of unattainable expectations, and you will be at ease with who you are. Get ready to say goodbye to a constant list of comparisons, to all of the thinking that leads to worry and overwhelm. You will begin to prioritize yourself, and you will feel finally connected to you and to others at a very deep level. 12 coaching calls once a week, 12 weeks, 12 mindset videos, plus the bonus of a lifetime access to bestseller course, Detox the Mind. If this calls your name, if you have been curious about working with me, if you want to say goodbye to your limiting beliefs, understand their root cause, and change them for once and for all so that you can step into that better version of you, anxious-free, confident, clear on what you want and who you are, I invite you to participate. There are only 12 spots available. First come, first served. See you inside.